Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. So sorry about the last time. I didn't have my on my calendar. Thanks for being flexible.
Así es la vida. That's life, as they say in Spanish. It's all good.
So how are you? Where are you exactly?
I'm on Andros, which is an island just to the right of the main peninsula of Greece, sort of two along. I've been
And
here
how
many
long have you
times
been there?
before. Uh, I've been here since early February, and I came here. I was in Davos in Switzerland for an art thing, and then I went back to Catalonia to see my son, and then I went to see my dad, and then I came here. And then COVID came, and that was it. So I've been here since February, and then I will in this house for another week. And I'm going to the mountains for 2 weeks, and then I'll go to Athens after that. And then we will see. My partner, she's got things to do in Athens with her son, and then we'll go traveling somewhere, but sure where.
These are interesting times to be traveling then.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Greece it's fine. Europe, a lot of Europe's fine. Austria's fine. Norway, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium's not so good, nor Spain,
Sweden
but
is not so good.
yeah, Sweden's not so good either. But Italy is actually ironically one of the best places to be, because they've really sorted it out. They're really on the ball. So Italy's a nice place to go. And then we'll come back here. I've rented this house for October till March next year, so I'll be hosting all sorts of things. Yeah. What about you? You're in where are you again? You're in.
I'm in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, so it's Washington State, just north of Seattle, almost halfway virtually between Seattle and Vancouver, BC.
Okay, nice. So it's 7 a.m. there.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've got the Northern Lights behind you. That's very nice.
They're always out.
Oh, they're always there. Yeah, they're always there. Like the moon's always full.
Yeah.
Like I think the last time I actually remember speaking to you was in one of Fleming's compensation experiments, and I think you were getting your carpet put in.
That
That's
was
what I.
very new to that series of conversational experiments. I believe he's less consistent now, but he used to be doing it every week, right?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He's good at that, but now he's doing less. I don't really know what he's doing, but
And
he's.
now that was probably over 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. It was about 3, 4 years ago because it started because I kept pushing him to do it. So he started in May 2016, and the first call we had was about money with a guy in the Netherlands, and then it took
Hmm.
on some momentum, and then it got going, and then I left after about a year or something here or there.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that was it. And Fleming is just Fleming. He just sort of, extraordinarily monotonously consistent, a bit like John Kelton, who just sort of all day, every day, ping, 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 all day. Um, but one of my things is that I've been at the moment. I'm very aware that there's still, due to the economic system, many people are still churning out siloed stuff, trying to get support for their project, and there's so many projects that are similar. And then it's not joined up. Investors are still playing the competition game. You jump through the hoops, you pick one out of all the, and it's still the old model. Most of the time, there are new models appearing for what could be called ecosystem investment, whereby you have maybe 10 projects that have not similar, but you can invest in the techie side, which if one project fails and the tech is absorbed into the other projects, and the creatives can be absorbed in as well, and then eventually end up with 3 projects out of 10 that work. I mean, that makes sense economically and investment wise, but I don't know how that's going with many investors. But me personally, I mean, I just written my book. I finished. It took me 50 days. I managed to write a book in that time when I was here, and then I've got a guy in Philadelphia who I'm meeting soon to publish it, do something with it. And then I've got one of the main things is I've got friends who do they interview indigenous elders in the Andes and in other parts of the world, and they're trying to get elder women to speak on behalf of women and on Mother Earth. And I'm like, great, fantastic, but I'd love to see the elders talking with each other, to see this guy in the Andes talking to that guy in China, talking to this guy in India, live and actually have children ask questions. So the children say, so where did the earth come from? And see how each of these different people talk and discuss it. And then you get a scientific point of view, you get the kids will choose one they like the most. But that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. And then there's other things here and there that I just am aware of, but I'm not really focusing on much more. I'm just sort of trying to take it easy for the summer and see what happens in October. What about you? How's the GCC?
What?
GCC.
Yes.
How's it going?
Well, let's see. There's multiple different ways to answer that question.
Okay.
One is that it's taking a very long time for supposedly intelligent, well-meaning, collaboration-focused people to actually learn how to collaborate.
Yeah.
And it's a remarkable number. There's a remarkably significant faction that abhors the word agreement.
Right.
And almost has a physical reaction to that word. So I'm learning that is strong, and I'm trying to navigate through that to find people to whom the word agreement is enabling and empowering and not restricting. So that's one of my current focuses. The other is focus itself, to really see, who understands the value of focus, and that focus leads to many other enabling and empowering action. And action also is one of these words that seems to repel certain people. So I'm finding that an interesting mix of people get attracted to GCC kind of in a social way, and not so much in a visioning, change-making, sustainability and thrivability way. So that's actually, it's a sign of my own stupidity. It's taken me this long to really understand that. But now that I think I understand part of that, I'm learning to shift gears a little bit and make small little adjustments to what I'm doing. So that's a longer way to answer the question.
Well, one of the metaphors I've used or analogies is that it's a bit like there's a clearing in the forest or this jungle, and there's a big fire. People have come out of this forest exhausted, tired. They go, oh, here I am. Oh, here's some people that are quite like me. You sit around the fire, chat away. This is nice. I'll just stay here. There's a bunch of folks saying, can we just, okay, we've done that bit. Can we now go over and explore what's over there? Who's up for it? Oh, no, I'm just quite happy just chilling here, in presence and, just being present too.
Yeah.
Which is fine, which is nice. But then a group of people just get up and say, right, we're off. And I'm interested in that. I'm very much a doer and saying, right, okay, come on, let's get move on. And yeah, I think, I don't know how much you know about Rudolf Steiner and his work in the early 20th century, but he came up with something called threefolding, which was based upon liberty, equality, fraternity. So it's called threefolding.
Yeah, okay.
So the liberty is the freedom to believe what you want, spiritual freedom, believe whatever, doesn't matter, doesn't harm anybody to think things. And equality is in the legal perspective. You've got this a legal agreement that everyone is equal, and then you make agreements. You say, right, okay, what's the agreement now? Okay, that holds for how long? A week? Okay, we agree to do that. Okay, let's do it. Then you revisit it, and it's always fluid. And then the final one is the fraternity, which was in brotherhood and sisterhood. You work economically together to do something, and therefore, because at the moment a lot of the economy is mixed with the art world, mixed with the other different, so it's all woven together and they should be separate. It's very interesting. That was early 20th century. So I've got friends, and we call it free association. So he's free to come and go whenever he wants. But when you commit to something, you make an agreement, then you say, okay, we agree to do that by then. Okay, and then you get it done. And then when you get there, you say, now what? And I do find, I think what you're saying is a lot of people just, they mistake presence and free flowing just to mean you just sit there, you know, and just enjoy the feeling of being in presence with other people, which is lovely. But then it's okay, now you've got that presence, the mind enters and you give something form. And then it's I want to do this, no, I want to do that, no, I want to do this, no, I want to do that. And then you end up with, you know, as you know, 6 months later, there's still no agreement as to what you're doing. And yeah.
Yeah, there's remarkably many forums that take that path. And
Yep.
it's now interesting to me how I am seeking those who also feel a sense of urgency. You know, social togetherness, I've got no problems with that. I enjoy it myself. But the planet is being harmed and it's being devastated. And if we do nothing other than sit around and, you know, talk to each other for, you know, hours on the morning and then go back to our regular lives, then I believe to one extent we are still a part of the problem.
Mhm.
So we want to be the ones that we've been waiting for.
Yep.
And that's difficult because we haven't figured out yet how to make that impact on a scalable way. So there's some sense of frustration there. It's born out of this urgency, and it's born out of the fact that we've just been deaf to warnings for decades.
Well, a good example is I had this conversation with John Kelly 2 weeks ago, and he said, we have to work together, we have to collaborate, we have to start with small groups. I said, okay, let's start with you and Fleming. So I make a group, they say hi, nothing. They continue to churn out their stuff. And I'm saying, well, you're both fakes. You're full of shit. Neither of you know how to collaborate or do anything. You have to be and do it. And so there's no collaboration here. What are you talking about? I find other people, I send email, let's do this. Yeah, I'm really busy. Okay. Who's not? So I found there's a bunch, I'm talking to him tomorrow. His name is Moses, of all, of all things. He's in LA right now, and he's got something called uni1.house. So it's uni1, O-N-E, dot house.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a former member of the Jewish elite. So he's Italian. His father, who is currently in a coma in New York, is one of the top Kabbalah teachers in the world in the Jewish tradition. Dot house, uni1.house. Yeah. So what happened was that Moshe or Moses, he left his world, and he did a lot of work in Brussels, great work for youth and things like that. And then he basically, what he wanted to do was conscious gatherings. So when people gathered in people's houses and they were met in presence, and then they saw what was happening, and they looked for each other's gifts and says, okay, let's support each other to do what you really want to do. And that worked really well for 10 years in Brussels. It was on the gift economy, so you just gave what you could. And then someone said, you really need to scale this because it's so strong. And he then intuitively went to LA because he's got links there. And he's got some friends, you know, celebrities and, you know, wealthy people and so on. And they're building a plan to build in LA. And the idea is to blend Uber with Meetup with Airbnb. So say you've got a house, you normally rent out a room, you can now rent out your living room for an evening, for a workshop in breath, yoga, coaching, personal development, you know, eco stuff, whatever. There's the host gets money, the facilitator gets paid, and the company gets paid. And the Uber thing is you move around, you see like what's happening tonight. Great idea, great concept, doing well, and you know it's starting to get built. So they're in LA, and the main guy is going to come back to Brussels. But I'll speak to him tomorrow, and I could maybe put you in touch because they're looking for just areas and people that can start to develop it eventually in different areas.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of story. You know, I used to be in Silicon Valley for several decades, at least 3 decades. I went through a divorce. I won't spend time talking about that. But as a
Yeah.
result of the divorce, lost the house, can't afford to live in California anymore. That's why I'm up here in Seattle. Actually, I was intending to come up here to the Northwest ever since I graduated high school here. Okay, so it's been quite a while. But where I ended up is interesting because I specifically wanted a place that was big enough to host a lot of people, friends, family, whatever. So I looked for 5-bedroom homes, and I'm renting right now. So I picked this 5-bedroom home, but when I got here, after 3 days of the house, I found 7 bedrooms.
Okay.
I had left 2 of the bedrooms off of the listing description. So now I have 7 bedrooms. Using daughter and I are using 2. I'm using 2 for offices. I've got one where there's a lot of crap. I've got at least 1 or 2 that are usable for guest rooms, and probably more if I decide to make something of it. And really, I intended to have a place like this so that we could have weekend workshops, conversations, seminars, gatherings, potlucks, ping pong tournaments, that sort of
Yep.
thing. That's exactly why I got a place this large and I'm paying this much rent for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it's very much in line with, yeah, basically to augment these online conversations is also to get some people together for an intense period. Like, for example, you may not know, but the GCC Conversants, we gathered in Germany last year around this time, and there were about 5 or 6 of us that got together. And then I also visited one of them for a weekend. Harry and I visited Gertrude in her hometown. So 3 of us got together. And then over here, Tammy's in Vancouver. I've gone up there to see Tammy and Harry up there. And I've also met Doug Breitbart in Florida. So it is good to augment these online meetings with some actual physical contact and some
Yeah.
hugs, dinners.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I met Harry years ago in Antwerp, actually. Yeah, I met him in Antwerp. I've met Fleming.
mm-hmm.
Had months with Tammy in 2016 trying to get things done. She doesn't talk to me anymore, and I'm fine with that. It's like, yeah, all sorts of stuff blew up 4 years ago, whatever. And then Jean Marie, she's been a great disruptor over the years. And the thing is, everyone knows everybody else. So like, like Daniel Harris. I know they've known Daniel for like a decade or more, 13 years. Daniel's great. He's doing his great stuff with the tech. And we're all aware of each other. And I feel as if we're in this giant mansion just wandering around doing our thing. And then someone rings a bell and says, right, let's all meet in the ballroom for to actually work on something and do it. And then it's people's drifting around. it's yeah, I find it maybe requires something really disruptive to happen for that pattern to be shocked and shifted. Because I think when it comes to the internet, they're really, like Alex Reed, for example, he's in such a pattern when it comes to his way he lives and the internet. It's like to shake that up, or even Joshua Bridge up in San Diego, he's way off grid, doing his thing, and it's great. It's like always spaces, always people. It's not sort of gathering yet, coalescing.
Right. I share some of your thoughts there because so much that I've started cataloging a list that I call smart people problems. And one of the most obvious ones is smart people have thought about these problems and care so much about these problems and have probably 150 projects that they each want to take on. And they're all looking for people to support them. So when smart people hook up, they're all really busy, somewhat too busy to even understand each other's visions and each other's plans, and certainly too busy to say, oh, I'll devote part of my time to you because I'm going to get rid of, this much of my committed projects because I already care about these. I'm going to shove that away just so I can actually spend that time with you. That's very difficult for smart people, and without taking a lot of time, no one's going to do that because they believe so much in what they already understand and have on their own roadmaps. So overcoming that is one of the reasons I try to stay in GCC. And I made a personal commitment. I don't really care who else shows up. I am actually trying to show that I care, show that I want to connect, show that I want to do some mutual understanding so that we can actually move loosely at first towards some grandiose goal, and over time see whether we can drift closer and closer and closer together. I think that immediate closeness to say, hey, we're going to do something right away is almost too much to ask in this community. You know, people are too busy, they're too worried about their own set of constraints, but they need to see each other operate for a while, get that familiarity, get that really strong sense that, yeah, this person's in there for the right reasons, for the right set of urgency, for the right ways, and wants to connect in the right ways. Then these kind of people will drift together. But I think this accelerated collaboration only works when you have kind of strong compensation models, either in recognition or in actual payment or whatever it is. But it doesn't work so long as these two people are autonomous entities and one's not working for the other. It's really difficult to get that alignment really strong right away. I've never actually seen that happen, except in terms of, let's say, romantic and sexual attraction. That's about the only way that
Yeah.
that happens, you know.
Yeah, it gets explosive, and I think that's the thing, is how to create that sort of electromagnetic connection online. There's actually a friend of mine, Dr. David Avery, who wrote a book on online collaboration, and I may be misrepresenting the story, but I think the reason it happened was because each of them was absolutely screwed in their lives. Like David just come over cancer, one of the other ones was really ill, and they just had enough. And they just supported each other. They got through it. They found a way to collaborate. They found a way to support a regular every morning checking in. How you doing today? Yeah, okay. What's going? What's new for you? Well, I'm starting to think of this. Right, you do that. We'll support you to do that. Once you've got that done, we'll see what's next. So it's like that flock of seagulls. You know, each one supports each other. Someone's got an intuition. Right, we support you now, right now, and that's it. It's hard enough doing it for oneself, with the ideas that come. Then with two people, like Vasia, who's my partner here, she's creating an online store for t-shirts and clothing, and she's full focus. And I'm doing my best to support her, but I'm also doing my thing at the same time. So we sort of meet in the middle going, hi, nice to see you again. How are you? Yeah, good. And that's the thing. So once you've done your thing, it's dropping it and then moving on to the next. And I do find, I mean, for example, like I find Heiner, bless him if he's watching this at any future time. Heiner is like, it's like trying to like organize water. I say, you know, can we just have a conversation about that? Well, I'm thinking, why would you forget it? So it's like, yeah. And so certain people have their modalities, preferred ways of being in a conversation and where they want to go. Others are very much just like to be there. And I've got a guy, Bala Pillai, who was my first mentor in early 2000s. He's in Malaysia now. He's got this thing called mind ecosystems. And he came up with this distributed organizational structure that's very fluid but very strong. And myself and another guy in Scotland came up with a mnemonic for it, which is little red monkeys. So little red monkeys climb icy mountains to dance in colorful carpets. That's the mnemonic. So little red monkeys climb icy mountains. So L is for leaders, R is for resourcers, people who can find money, people, stuff, locations, whatever. So little red monkeys, M are the magnets, people who just attract people. That's magnets. And then you've got the little red monkeys. Climb, C is creatives, the really creative ones who are maybe useless at all the other stuff, but very creative. Then you've got IC, the intuitives. That's often missed out in organizations and structures. People can just sense there's something not right here. M, mountain makers. They design, they make, they build, they shape stuff. Climb icy mountains. To dance, the D are the doers. They get it done. Project managers, right? When's this happening? I want that by next Thursday. And then the final two, the most imaginational stuff, are the bean counters, the collectors, and the contractors, the legal guys. So you've got, normally in the old system, it was the bean counters and the legal people that drive everything. They decide, right, we don't have the budget for that, can't do this, we have this amount, what do we do? Whereas the other way now is, you know, the leaders say, right, we're going to do that, and we need, right, you resources, we need this, okay, makers need that, what's that? And then we go to the budget and say, right, what's available? Right, that's your limitation. And then doer goes, right, and they do it. So you only really need 9 people. And many times you have those skills within maybe 5. And then my other mentor, he told me a fantastic anecdote of a very wealthy man who brought Nobel scientists together and said, thinking that if you put 50 of them in a room, they'll come up with the solutions to everything. And they didn't. They just all fought and argued for days and days and days about what was actually true and not true, and that's correct, that's incorrect hypothesis. So what they found out is in the strongest communities, when you've got very strong ones who know exactly what his or her gift is and how to contribute, and then you start off with threes. You must, two is no good because you just end up mirroring each other and projecting onto each other, or activating each other's shadow. So then a three, right, we've got a three, then you go to a four, then you go to a five. Five is very strong, it's a pyramid, four-sided pyramid. Then you go to six, tetrahedron, and so on. So that's the Pythagorean approach, just to build from that 3, 4, 5. Even to get a three committed to regularly meet, to make decisions, then you attract the fourth. Even that's hard. Do you know Gino Yu?
I don't.
I'll put you in. Well, he's asked me not to put me in touch with anybody. He said, please don't send me any more, Graham. Gino's in Hong Kong, massively connected. One of the most ridiculous connections. And he's put me in touch with a lot of people. But he's Californian, Hong Kong. He used to be professor of computing science at USC. He's now in Hong Kong, and he does game design and media company. And he does this thing called the Evolving Caravan, which is very cool, which is basically a bunch of folk who are traveling all over the world, meeting in places like Barcelona, Bali, whatever. And they get, once you throw all these people together in one space, things always happen because of the physics of relationship, and projects come out and so on and so forth. So he does this Evolving Caravan. I think it's evolvingcaravan.com, I think. Yeah. And he's also trying to set up locations around the world to support spiritual emergence, because there are a lot of people who are, particularly young ones, who are waking up and then committing suicide. They don't have the support from the old system, and he wants to stop that. So we're talking about creating spiritual emergency rooms, like mapping the emergency room structure, and then you have rehabilitation centers. So like a place where you have that, where you are, it'd be like if there's people in the whole sort of Washington State area, there's places they can go to get help immediately, then they go somewhere to rehabilitate and just chill out. And he's trying to get the funding for that. He's trying to get people who don't need money anymore, do not worry about money, to say, right, we need this system built. And so he's another guy that I could put you in touch with. I'll ask him if he's available yet. But it's good that you are where you are, because I don't think there's anyone over that side. He's got someone in Ohio, he's got Costa Rica, he's got me in Greece, and then there's a few others dotted around the place. But that's his. I'll ask him if I can send you the slides, because he's very much he is focus doer, working 18 hours a day non-stop on this. Yeah.
One of the things to know about my location is it is very remote. That's one of the reasons I came here. I tell people I live 40 miles north of Seattle, but my driveway to get onto Kamano Island essentially is a 25-mile driveway. And I live with very few neighbors. I live 2.5 miles from the closest place you can buy anything. The closest gas station is about 8 miles away. The closest supermarket is 14 miles away. The closest town where there's a high school is 21 miles away. So that's to give you a sense of how remote I am.
And how many people could you host, do you think?
Sorry, say that?
How many people could you support, like one or two?
One or two if they insisted on their own rooms. But I've got lots of floors, lots of couches, lots of rooms. So if I turned them all into guest rooms and had two in each guest room, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in bedrooms easily. And then probably 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 if people wanted to take sleeping bags and floors and that
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that is, I mean, have you had your own sort of spiritual Waterloo, where you've collapsed and lost it. Like for me, for example, I've had many sort of breakthroughs, and completely transformed my life. Married, divorced, collapsed, suicide attempts at 21, doing all these things, had completely lost for a decade, and then been through lots of awakenings, so that therefore now I've integrated, that I'm still developing and always on that path. But what Gino is looking for is mature people who are able to support and ground people. Particularly, there's a lot of sort of 20, 30 somethings who have an opening and then think they found the answer to everything. Got it. My thing
It's
is
not for me to say.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay, yeah, fantastic. Right. Good. So what I'll do, he's in Hong Kong, which is for 5 hours ahead. So he's midnight right now, or 10 o'clock now.
He's probably 10 hours ahead of me, 8 or 10
Yeah,
hours.
10 hours. Yeah, so, but he's extremely responsive. So, yeah, because he's looking for people to be able to cover bases all over and to build this system. Cool. Okay. And perhaps just you and I, if this is a good time for you, I'm happy to meet at this time every week to agree on that.
Yeah, let's find out what the next set of objectives might want to be. I think we're still getting to know each other. So
Okay.
at least one or two more, and let's figure out whether there's something that's a kind of Brownian motion
Well,
we can gather.
yeah. I mean, I really like the half an hour format, because an hour tends to so often drag on. So if a quick focused half an hour at
Okay,
this time
let's do
on a
it.
Sunday, and then we can just, take it from there.
If that's the way, then let's shift it 15 minutes later. Okay, so let's do
Okay.
like
Fine by me.
7:15 my time. That gives me 15 minutes to break and do the GCC call without
Great.
having to be right up next to each other.
Perfect. So
Okay.
5:15 my time, 7:15. Great.
All right. I'll set it up for the next two instances and let's see how that happens. Okay.
Great, Sam. Thank you.
All right, Graham. Good to reach
Cheers,
out.
mate.
Thank you. Mhm.
Bye-bye.
By the way,
Yes.
just for the record, all of my sessions are recorded. Do you have any objection to that?
No, I have no problem at all. If I do, I'll say, can you stop recording, or can we not do that
Okay.
one?
All right.
Happy, but I have been recorded and done so much live stuff where I have extremely embarrassed myself, so I've got no problem
Yep.
with
I figure
that.
everything
Okay.
I do is going to find, is visible anyway,
Exactly.
I'll share this with
Okay.
GCC if you don't mind. Okay.
No problem at all. Cheers, Sam.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you. Bye bye.